think this was going up, but I'm just going to continue. I'm talking about mind control murders that were done in patterns, and I'm talking about my kidnapping in 1941 and being brought to Bolton, Alabama, and given the name of a twin, Peggy Ann Dempsey. I married a Childers. Both twins, I found out in 1983, had been killed by their mother, Lina. And I had been put there and given the name, my identity stolen, and I grew up being told that that hideous monster that killed her twins, and the family covered it up, by the way, anyway, I'd had to call her mother. And the woman was hideous, so was the family. Anyway, I found out in '83 about my kidnapping. And my father's Edward VIII, who was never married to Wallace Simpson. That whole thing was orchestrated and a lie. My father was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe Windsor, and she is the Queen Mom. She's sister to Georgia O'Keefe from Madison, Wisconsin, and Georgia was an artist on the Ghost Ranch in near Santa Fe, Abiquiu, New Mexico. But anyway, the O'Keefes are my family, mother's family, and my uncle helped orchestrate my kidnapping and the removal of his own brother, my father, Edward VIII. And there was a 99-year seal put on it to cover up the crimes and cover up my kidnapping. I'm Victoria, the second heir to the British Crown, and then Mark, and then Scott, my sons. So the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, the Illuminati that's in power now, Joe Kennedy, the Kennedy clan, helped kidnap me. He was appointed ambassador to England from 36 till they kicked him out in 45. So my own Uncle George helped take down my father and kidnap his own niece, and history has recorded a lie. Anyway, I wrote about mind control murders. I'd worked for doctors, and this is prior to finding out my real name. And I'd written about Dr. Congressman Larry McDonald and the deaths of murders of Warren and Rosina Matthews, who were doctors at Larry McDonald's hospital, Piedmont Hospital in Atlanta. And they knew how deaths were made to appear of natural cause. You can create an illness or cure it. And this is what I've told, and I had lists of it for a long, long time, and then I have been beaten to a pulp. I even had a letter from the FBI, so I'm being redundant. I just put a tape up, and I couldn't get it all on. So if you care to hear what's really going on in this country and the world, you might want to look at some of my tapes, but the one that I just put up, I'm going to try to put the same title on both of them, 1 and 2, okay? So I wrote about mind control murders, modifying behavior. By the way, I had no background in this. You can Google it now, mind control, and find out, but mind control is a murder weapon that you cannot see. It's invisible. So when I wrote the book, Larry Flint was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia. I was kidnapped and brought to Lawrence County, Alabama. So you get into patterns, like, let me say this, Larry Flint was shot in Lawrenceville. I lived at Moonraker Apartments in Marietta, Georgia, March the 6th of '78 when he was shot. I lived there a year. And was writing about Warren and Rosina Matthews and a lot of other things about the mind control murders. And George Wallace, governor of Alabama, that was shot, he was actually in Laurel, Maryland. And Lina Dempsey, the woman that murdered her twins, where I was put there in Moulton, Alabama, in that family, she was with George Wallace. He was not her friend. She imposed herself in that campaign, and he was shot up there. I'm just showing you things that happened, and later, Larry McDonald, Congressman Doctor, the plane he was on from Juneau, Alaska to Seoul, South Korea was gunned down. This is how you take a plane down with mind control, the pilot, etc., etc. They don't even know they're flying off course or into the ocean, etc., okay? So anyways, Russia shot it down, and supposedly Larry McDonald was on that plane, and I became a candidate. Larry Flint, who had been shot, and the person programmed to shoot him, flew me to his home in Bel Air at the time. And I want to say one other thing here real quick. Sonny's here on that home prior to him, and that's not all of the pattern. But Sonny, Bono was, and there's some others at the same time that happened. He was a good skier. He conveniently, I guess, sad to say, under mind control, and he was, hit a tree and died. So anyway, the Virginia Tech shootings next door were mind control. James Holmes, mind control. The Grand Theater. So there's a list of these. But what I wanted to say was that where I was, I've been kept penniless, and I have been beaten and in plain sight. It's horrifying if the world is made to look at it, how people have reacted, and it's not that they don't believe, they do. So I had some money taken. I ended up at a shelter downtown Roanoke. And they put me in a room with some other women, just 4 or 5. And I started telling this. Twins is so much a part of this. I grew up thinking I was a twin because they'd stolen my identity. I was 2 years old when I was taken there. And actually, Peggy and Carl were born out of wedlock, and Lina, their mother, killed them, and the family covered it up. Anyway, I put all that up on tapes and on the prior one, so I'm going to try to get this on. I didn't realize when I got there, it took me even, and I've been knowing the patterns that were used. It's like having my own database is how it is. So I got up there, and I'm being redundant now, and this will go off, but there were 2 Lauras there in the room with me. One I liked a lot. She was a twin, though, and her twin was there, and her name was Lena. And then the other Laura had the bunk bed above me, and I don't know anything about her. She didn't talk much. Then there was Mary Alice, and that's the name of a person I finished school with. I went to grade school and finished high school in Moulton, Alabama, Mary Alice, and was her name. So Mary Alice was really heavy, this woman in the shelter, and she was in the same room, and I heard her talking, and she was talking to her twin son, Connor. Well, then I thought, well, Connor, my goodness, here you got another set of twins, and a lot had happened to these people that brought them together. And once I got the full scope of it, it's just what I've said. Mind control has been used way back, and it takes a lot of programming to do what was done there. If you could bring it in and show it, you would see what I've said, and it's probably way too late because everybody was too busy beating me up, not wanting to hear me. Anyway, this woman was talking, and she's talking about Connor, her twins, and I didn't say anything, but Connor goes back to Lacey Peterson, Scott Peterson, and Connor was his child-to-be that died. And that was mind control murder, and Scott Peterson's in prison, and his attorney, Mark Garvis, knows it. I assume that he can't do anything with it at the time either. Now then, I wanted to go to Mel, as in melody, and this may not make sense to you. You'd have to have it printed out and shown like a dictionary or something, or a genealogy sheet. Mel, I found out later, was melody, as in Melody Lane. And I'm going to go over to Christiansburg, Blacksburg, Virginia Tech, where the shootings took place, mind control. But a place I had stayed and rented, and I'm not going to give background on that again, had a new place there. And I applied, and it was low-income housing because they kept me penniless. And I filled out, and she told me, and her last name's Scott. So you get the gist a little bit using of names. And they're done in synchronicity and patterns. But anyway, she told me, Miss Scott, and she kept her job. This is what this is all about, getting things on people and getting them to participate in unlawful acts because they think they'll never be prosecuted. So Miss Scott said, it doesn't matter. She declined my application. She says, it doesn't matter. You have to go through a background check, and it won't do you any good to keep trying because you won't get it. She was right, I didn't. They didn't have to give me a reason. So now then, let's fast forward a few years. That's about